Welcome to my virtual diner. Pull up a seat at the counter, get comfortable. Most shows talk about the people, and I talk to them. This is Real America with me, Bridget Phetasy. Some quick but not that quick housekeeping. We'll get it quicker. If you want to be called on, you need to be on Zoom on camera, and you need to virtually raise your hand by clicking the reactions button. If you aren't on Zoom and want to be a part of our virtual live audience right now or in the future, click the link in the description below to get the Zoom link, or go to twoway.tv/BridgetZoom. Also, if you're with us on the Zoom, it's the same link every time. Put it in your calendar. Save this link. It is your link to this show. We will use it for every show. The voice of God you will hear is Cousin Maggie, for those of you who don't know her.
Hello, everyone.
Many of you already do. She's actually my cousin. It'd be weird if I called her that and she wasn't. And co-producer on everything. We make all the shows together, like Dumpster Fire, Walk-ins Welcome, Real America, and all the other content you can find at Phetasy.com. Maggie is going to be monitoring the chat. If you have a question or would like to contribute to the conversation and you raise your hand, Maggie will message you privately to find out what you'd like to say. She's going to help make sure we stay on topic. Censor Maggie. You're more likely to get called on if you let her know what you'd like to say, and we can't guarantee we'll get to everyone who raises their hand, just so you know that. We try our best, but we often fail. Everyone knows my number one rule is don't be a dick. So please don't act like your boomer relatives on Facebook do. We would like everybody to be cordial to one another, even while we disagree about whatever. All right. Now on to our topic tonight, the state of comedy, the United States of comedy. I was only about 5 years into doing stand-up in 2015 when Trump descended down that escalator and things got weird. Let's be real, things got weird everywhere, and stand-up comedy was no exception. For the first time, there seemed to be a real divide in the comedy world. It was shocking to me because I always thought there was so much solidarity in stand-up. It was us, the performers, versus them, the normies, the crowds, the institutions, the industry, the tech lords. We were grinding it out, and it was them. But suddenly, there were the comics who continued to make jokes about anything and everything, and comedians who became PC police. It was truly shocking to me. In 2019, I wrote a piece for the Washington Examiner titled Comedy's Last Stand. It was in reference to the intensely politically correct moment that we were living through, the Great Awakening, as it's been referred to. In the article I wrote, stand-up comics are the frontline fighters of the culture war for a reason. It is their job, more so than even musicians or artists, to push boundaries, to turn sacred cows into hamburgers. Then we all kind of know what happened. During the 2020 lockdowns, podcasts blew up, and it was truly one of the only places you could make jokes without being kicked off Twitter or demonetized on YouTube. Unlike the censors who came for the famous Lenny Bruce, the new censors were mobs of frothing, offended masses and invisible algorithms. But a lot of people didn't cave to the mob, and those who didn't, or fought against the fear that it infected Hollywood by producing their own podcasts and stand-up specials, are incredibly rich now. Some might say it's a golden age of comedy. Comedy is bigger than ever. It's everywhere. Elon Musk's recent plea to make comedy legal again feels like it belonged in 2018. Comedians are selling out arenas. They're flying around in private jets. Comedy and comedians have taken on a sort of outsized role in the culture, being hailed as some of the greatest political commentators of our time. Is this a good thing? Commenting on war is nothing new for comedians, but allegedly swaying the outcome of elections? I struggle to think of another time in modern history that the jester, the clown, has been so influential. But what happens when subversive comedy becomes mainstream? When the jesters become kings? Who keeps them in check? Have we reached peak comedy? And if so, what's next? I want to hear from you, America. What's tickling your funny bone? But first, a word from our sponsor, Quest. Are you dealing with an HMO like I am? Because I'm a normie. It is such a pain in the ass. If I want to get any sort of testing done to ensure I'm making my health a priority, I have to wait weeks for an appointment to see my doctor, then get a referral from her and wait weeks more for an appointment with the specialist I needed to see. Quest Health simplifies this entire process. Quest offers over 150 of the same tests trusted by doctors, including diagnostics for specific ailments like STDs, chronic conditions like heart, liver, and kidney disease, as well as testing that is almost never covered by health insurance, like fertility and advanced women's hormone testing. Quest offers broad packages of tests that go way beyond the standard tests you typically get in an annual medical checkup visit. Concierge medicine and functional medicine doctors charge thousands of dollars for these type of workups. Quest offers them for the price of a night out on the town. Your health and well-being is worth it. If you changed jobs, lost a job, or just changed health insurance plans, you might be looking for a new doctor. If so, it's likely to be a long wait, sometimes months. Instead, in just a few days, you can get an annual health profile from Quest that includes all the basics plus biometrics like height, weight, and blood pressure. When you finally do get to see your new doctor, you can just show up and share your results with him or her easily. Visit questhealth.com and use the discount code REALMAY25 and get 20% off your purchase. That's questhealth.com, code REALMAY25 for 20% off. And now back to comedy. So just a little bit of background. I was about 5 years into comedy when things got weird. And for those of you who don't know my whole story with comedy, it's been a dance with me and stand up. And I had also gotten sober in 2013. And so I didn't really have enough confidence to keep pressing while people that I knew were unfollowing me on Twitter for making jokes at the left's expense, which seemed very obvious to me. I was making jokes about everyone, by the way. And people, and started to focus on building my online audience. And then lockdowns came, baby came, I got married. I didn't think I'd ever get on. I was wondering if I'd ever get on stage again. And then I moved to Austin, and I have a friend, Ariel Isaac Norman, who's a comedian. And she said, "Hey, why don't you just come do my show?" It was like a crack dealer giving a recently sober person a hit of crack again. And it was a very low stakes show. I was terrified. Maggie was with me.
Yep.
She remembers. But meanwhile, my life had completely changed from being a single girl in Los Angeles to a Texas suburban mom with a child. So I had to write all new material and start basically from scratch. And that is where I met our first guest, Genevieve. She is part of this Austin scene. She moved here to do comedy. She's absolutely hilarious. And it's such a cool, warm scene that starting over again, as intimidating as it felt to me, it felt so different than starting in Los Angeles, where I did start, which was being a seal in a pit of sharks. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Real America, Genevieve. How are you doing tonight?
Okay, let me bring her up.
Oh, sorry. I'm ready for.
I just had to ask you to unmute there, Genevieve. There we go.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to
Thanks
Real
for
America.
having me.
Thank you for coming. You're one of my
Thank you
favorite
so much.
people in this scene. Tell me, so you moved to Austin to do comedy, correct?
I did. Yes,
And
it was open.
It was open. Where were you? Yeah. Was it closed where you were? Where did you start doing comedy?
Well, I originally got started in the Minnesota scene back in 2016. Yeah, I was a truck driver at the time, and I always wanted to try it. And I heard so many good things about Minnesota. I don't know, Prince, that has nothing to do with comedy. But I was like, it works out. Purple Magic, Purple Rain. I'm gonna try it. And my first 3, 4, 5 mics, people laughed, and I'm like, fuck. So now I gotta keep up with this shit. But then life got in the way, and then I picked it back up in 2018 in Detroit, and then was out there for a couple of years. And then 2020, shit got weird for everybody, and I thought, at least for a solid 3 months, that I didn't know what the world was gonna do at all. I got a text message that said you gotta stay home forever. You know what I mean? It's like you have to obey the text message. So um, I stayed home, and then I just kept hearing, my husband, he was my boyfriend then. He's a big follower of Rogan, big follower of like the podcast circuits. And he heard about some Austin activity and was like, they're open. We didn't even get into Austin per se. We just Texas. Texas was open, is what we heard. So
Yeah.
something opened in Oklahoma, which led to Dallas, and then I was working at a paper company in Dallas for like 1 week. Like I was really bad at it, like really, really bad at it. Like those people's papers did not get handled well. And I heard about Kill Tony, and I said, let's go try and get on it one time in Austin. And we went down, and I got on that night, and I've been slumming it up in Austin ever since. Yeah.
So what have you noticed about the scene since you moved here? And I was hearing just the other night that there was like somebody joking about all the Kill Tony comedians who try to come, or people come from all over America, and they're like, sleeping in their cars under the freeway trying to
Yeah.
get on the show. Is this like a rumor, a myth, or is this actually true about this scene?
Definitely down a rumor. People were definitely sleeping in their cars. I didn't at the time. I didn't know. Like, I have a different relationship with them now, but I had no clue who the hell. Like, I think I tried in 2019. I went out to LA for like a month just to kind of, my boyfriend was out there and he was trying some stuff out there. I was like, okay, and I heard about Kill Tony out there. They were just like, when you go to the store, this is what you want to do on a Monday. You want to try to get on this show, and you want to try to get on Potluck. That's just what you want to do. And all the comics is that's what you want to do. I'm like, okay, y'all, it's LA. I believe y'all. But I got into witness it for a little bit, but it wasn't definitely as crazy as it is now. So when I got in on Austin, I was just like, I'm just do my best minute. That's all I can think of to do. As far as the interview goes, I was just like, be polite. That's the only thing I could think of. I don't know, have manners. I don't know. And but since then, like, yeah, this is people's life now. Like, people feel like this is Star Search. This is American Idol. This is like brand all like the put a stamp on it. This will make or break you type
Yeah.
feeling towards it now. And it's been crazy because I saw it from a small little gathering in Antone's to now witnessing it being in arenas and like multiple international arenas. Like, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
I saw it start in the belly room, and
Yeah.
it's wild to see how big these things are now. And Tony always had that vision, since I've known him, he always had the vision for it. What's interesting to me is Austin's like a brand new comedy scene, and honestly, it's very supportive from my perspective. It seems like I think because of the effect of like Kill Tony and a lot of the podcasts that are here, there's this perception that it's like a bro scene, but my experience of it is that it's been pretty diverse. Like, I do a gay show on Tuesday nights. What do you feel about it?
Well, when I first got down here, Kill Tony definitely gave me a boost and a bump, but there was a scene that was somewhat established before. Not like what it is now, of course, where like internationally everybody's like, I gotta stop through Austin. Austin was like, yeah, you gotta stop through Austin. ACL is there. There is a scene, there is some clubs, there is some culture. But like there wasn't, we call it the old scene. The old scene of comics are like the people who are like OG Cap City,
Right.
people who are like OG Cold Town, and like OG that's been in the more improv slash comedy scene that was somewhat established before, like Esther Follies and like that whole like group of people. Like, there's I don't know if I can give shout outs, but like area was a part of that. But you
Yeah.
have like Chris Tellis, Angelina Martin, Holly Hart. Who else am I thinking? Like a lot of people who were kind of here before. And Cap City is, I think they've done a good job of kind of keeping they keep a somewhat of a tightish rein on kind of the old scene, making sure they show the old scene some love, but they are embracing some of these new people like me. They've embraced a lot of people that I've seen like come through Austin around the same time as me. They have their ear to the ground as far as like what's going on around Mothership, Kill Tony, and other things. Um, the lot of the queer scene, you know, Austin is it's a mix between queer, old, new, and headliners that come through because you still got the big venues and stuff like that. And
Yep.
Moon Tower has been established for a long time, and those people are really cool with me, are nice to me, showed me love for at least for the past 3, 4 years now. So, and it's been like one of the like the top comedy festivals out there, and so like it's great to see like any pretty much any walk of life of entertainment come through here. Like,
Yeah.
and it was kind of had a bit of that establishment before, but now it's just something that I don't think anybody has seen. Like, you know,
Yeah.
compared to like a New York or LA. Like, this is wild. You know,
It is wild. It's like a Midwest New York or LA, and you're right. There wasn't really like people, you know, I as you and I both know from doing like comedy for bachelor parties during bachelor party season, it is like a destination spot now in a way that I think it was before, but mostly like I would come for music. It wasn't, you know, you weren't like coming to go to this destination, and it has really exploded. Do you think, what's your feeling about my question that I'm really trying to like wrestle with is how does comedy get any bigger than it already is? Like if you're selling out arenas and you're doing, is this like, are we at the top of the mountain? Not you and
I don't
but
know.
just comedy in general.
I like my little spot midway mountain, like midway base mountain. I don't know because I see the top. I'm behind the scenes a lot of some of these big names, big wigs, big people, even some legends. I see them behind the scenes, and I'm all like, man, heavy is the head, and
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I'll be happy if like you know, I'm a door guy comic at the Mothership. The Mothership was has been established for like 3 years now, and I'm one of the OG hires as door guys. And like prior to that, like the most infamous door guy program in the country was at the store.
Yeah.
And like I love my job. Like the fact that you know I clock in and not say we're lazy, but we don't do much with the comedy. We don't like we sweat in the elements a little bit, and we have to hear the same old. Can I get your smartwatch? No, it's a dumb watch. We got to hear that joke over
Yeah.
a million times. But love the customers, love you customers.
Yeah.
But no, it's to be able to sustain yourself while you figure out your next dick joke, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's unheard of. It's such a privilege. And like I don't know anything like it. Like I know if Mothership is now like a staple in a big player in this, it changes up the game a little bit. It has ruffled some feathers. Um, in like a New York kind of scene. Like I've heard things that like New Yorkish or some LA, well, not so much LA, but kind of like other scenes per se. Like a New York is like, meh, you know, and I get that a lot of that is because of the politics.
Mm.
But it's if you're just funny and you are a hard worker, like you're gonna get noticed. Not
Yeah.
like maybe famous or I can't guarantee you fame, but it's not gonna go unnoticed here. Like, and that's pretty much what it's all about. Like, you know, there are some extremes I haven't seen crossover yet in certain spaces, but there is room in the general scene for some of everyone and
Yeah.
everybody. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, Mothership might not be the best fit for a certain this, or you know, New York might not be the certain fit for a certain this, or. But I feel like it's another hub, and it's you know, it's bridge the gap. You know, I feel
Yeah.
like
I feel like the more hubs, the better too. Like there's room for us all. You know, people. I always see comedians being like, "There are too many comedians." I'm like, "Yeah, but not." It's such a when you're, it's such a grind. It's a real meat grinder, you know. Not everybody's gonna last through what like you have to do to make it in comedy, even still, even with all the opportunity.
Yeah, and don't you like, and even in like music, then you have like your favorite one hit wonders that like did what they did for a little while. Now they're like families and moved on and have a little
Yep.
money in tech, and they're just like sitting back, like let us have our thing too,
Yeah.
like let some cream rise and some shit, curd or whatever. Like
Yep.
let it be. Like I don't know. What a humbug ass perspective. It's like, man, too much comedy, too much laughing, too many jokes. Like, what type of life?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's too many politicians. I think it's too many other things going on. I think it's like too many like uh, opinionated people. Like it's a whole bunch of stuff that we can get into the too much nitpicking
Yeah.
game if you want.
Yeah.
Like too much of too many reasons to joke, if you ask me. Like,
Too many things
yeah,
to make fun of.
yeah.
Do we have
We
any?
do. We've got some people with their hands raised.
Okay.
Some questions, some comments. So let's start bringing some people up.
You can stick around if you want, and people
And
might
I
have
just want to
questions.
say, just a disclaimer: I would love to do comedy in New York. Not shitting on New York at all.
Oh yeah, we know. We get it. Where can we find you for people who are looking to find you online, or what's the best way to find your comedy or to follow you on social media?
Yeah, I have a little bit out on YouTube. You can follow me. I have a Jam in the Band that's out. You can look at me on Jam in the Band comedy. I have a little 8 minute set out there. I have some clips on my Instagram, C Genevieve at C Genevieve CGENIVIVE. Come through the mothership. I'm there every week. Come down if you can't get tickets online. Come through. We have a standby list you can get on. Just get there a little early before the show you want to get on the list. And I'm all around town. And I post where I'm at mostly on my Instagram. If you want to book me, you can do that also through my Instagram. Yeah, and I'm
Amazing.
around.
Full of useful
Thank you.
information, guys. Thank you, Genevieve. All right, let's listen to some people. I'm curious to know what people think about comedy right now.
All right. Do you want to stay up for this, Genevieve, or do you have to go?
I got a little time.
Okay. We'll bring up Sarah first. And I'm going to ask you to unmute here and add spotlight. Hi, Sarah. Oh, I asked you to unmute. Can you unmute?
I can.
There we go.
Is it working?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi.
Sarah.
Hi, Bridget. I learned about you from the interview you did of Nellie Bowles for her book Morning After the Revolution.
Okay.
That was awesome. Otherwise, yeah, it was a great introduction. And I love that you're very funny as a female comic who doesn't constantly talk about your genitalia. That seems like how female comics go about it.
That is the
Um,
stereotype. It's not the
right.
Oh,
truth.
I'm a political animal. I love comedy as well. I've loved SNL my whole life, and the theory of the case is people love the SNL era that they grew up in. So for me, that would have been Will Ferrell, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, but I prefer the earlier stuff, Dana Carvey, Dennis Miller, kind of throwback, Phil Hartman. What are your thoughts on SNL over the years? And there's the complaint that it's become far too left wing, which I see sometimes, but sometimes it's still really funny. So if you could weigh on SNL, I'd really appreciate it.
That's a great question because I grew up in like I do think people growing up now are like, this is the golden era of SNL. It doesn't it part of what made SNL those seasons great was like the cast felt very united and they were stars. Like they all felt like stars to me. So I grew up during the Phil Hartman, Dana Carvey. That was our era. And then also loved Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. It did seem to lose its way a little bit. Like I said in 2015, like things just got weird and it felt like one of the things that has undeniably happened is in this vacuum that Hollywood left, because I think they got afraid. They became a little too left winger. They abandoned a little bit more of the moderate center. And in that vacuum, podcasting and comedy kind of came and filled in. I do see SNL kind of returning to its roots, though. I always have faith in Lorne Michaels. I think the guy is a genius. I think he is the GOAT. He's been doing this forever. He has an impeccable eye for talent. I think that, like anything, SNL has cycled through good years and bad years, and in and up and down and in and out of being really on fire and really not. I'm hoping that it kind of finds its way back to the moderate center. You know, they had that recent the beers one that went viral. Do you remember that sketch recently that went viral? It was like, I think Shane Gillis, who's also a genius. It reminded me of like every dude I know in Rhode Island. It went so viral, but I was like, this is like, after a hard day, you got it. Here's your prescription. It's like some beers and some Coke or something, beers and a bumper. I'm going to ruin it. Just go find it. And so I do see evidence that it's finding its voice again in this kind of, I think people were really scared and stifled for like a decade, truly, by a lot of the mobs and even the algorithms. I don't know. What do you think, Genevieve?
I've been a big fan of SNL. I think I came online really around the same Will Ferrell, Jimmy Fallon, Amy Poehler, that whole era. And some of the guests have been just amazing. Like, give a chance for some of these stars who not necessarily in the comedy world, but they come in and like break out and get into comedy sketches. I don't know. I as a comic that does genitalia jokes, I stay away from politics per se. And myself, like, I give little hints, little nods. I'm just happy that there's room for like places for me too, that doesn't get into political, because I'm straight just silly, ridiculous, and loud. You know what I mean? So I don't think SNL. I think politically, yeah, they around a lot of liberal candidates a lot, and certain nods to certain Republican candidates. But like, as you can see, they're all hilarious. Like, there's so much to be made fun of here. Like, you know what I mean? So I think they're kind of getting away. And then like with the whole resurgence of Shane Gillis on there, like that was like such an epic thing for him to like be canceled for whatever he was for, and then like just break out into this like amazing star. Now they have him back with welcome arms, and he's helping out with certain ideas of sketches and the tone of sketches. Like, I think Lorne Michaels, that man knows what he's doing. And I think everything goes through phases. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hopefully, I will come out of my genitalia era and get into more highbrow, so I can get more fans like you. But I think there's room for it all, though, and I think SNL has definitely shown range for sure.
Yeah, I love that it's like for women, we're like, well, we can talk about politics or our vagina, and that's pretty much it.
That's all we got here.
That's all we got. Sarah, thank you so much for a great question.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, I'm going to bring up Russ has a specific question for Genevieve, so I want to get that in there before she might have to go.
Okay. Genevieve's got new fans.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Hi, Russ.
Hey guys,
Hello.
just not to date myself, but I'm more of a George Carlin, Steve Martin, Robin Williams. That's how I grew up. So
Yeah.
kind of before Saturday Night Live, but it's got to be a grueling way to make a living. So I really appreciate comics because it's all or nothing on a stage. I always go to the ones here in Kansas City, and it's a good time. But what kind of comedy do you do? I mean, it's easy to say political humor and stuff like that, but when you kind of come up with your set, how do you decide what's going for the audience that night, and your tight 30 or whatever you're going to do that night, right? And then what comics do you look for in inspiration? Not just today, but I remember listening to Bob Newhart's Button Down Mind from my parents' record players. So it's that kind of humor has always interested me. But even like today, Dave Chappelle is doing really, really interesting political.
And we were kind of researching for this show, and Nate Bargatze, who is clean and not political, made #1 grossing touring comedian last year, $82 million.
Sold out 12,000 here in Kansas City.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's a brilliant joke writer. And he's still clean. Like there is room for everybody, but to me, it says that there's a hunger for that kind of escape from politics as well as the more raunchy, subversive stuff. So because he's so massive right now, Genevieve, why don't you answer some of his questions, like who inspires you and how do you kind of decide what's going in your set?
Okay, well, around the time I started, there was one particular at the head of my Mount Rushmore of comedians that I could not get out of my brain. Like I always had to find new stuff about him on the internet. Like Patrice O'Neill is one of my goats. He can be political. He can be controversial. He can piss you off. He can make you love him. He can turn it all back around again. He can get deep. He can get philosophical. He can get all over the place. But he said what he said loud, and he wasn't apologetic about it. Me, I apologize. I'm like, ooh, I'm sorry, but what inspires me is I'm not saying I have the most craziest life or the craziest background or anything. I'm just saying I do come from one of the many jobs that people have before they find what they love. One of them was sales, right? And so I find a way that this is the years of life that I had. What out of it can I sell to people? You know what I mean? These are little sections and parts that have made me this is insane to me. This is ridiculous to me. This is what I'm making fun of. I don't like to point out too many celebrity names. I don't like to cause too much confrontation, but I still cause somebody's not going to like you for some reason, and you can't apologize for that. So for now, I might have a hot 5 of vagina jokes, but I also have stuff about, being Black, being queer, being mentally ill, being all over the place, certain jobs that you wouldn't think that I had, or just to kind of get out of. I'm still in the summary mode, so I'm hoping that my writing changes and I keep growing too. But I find also I like a Maria Bamford, what the hell, I'm playing around here, it's not all okay here, but I'm making it okay for everybody, you know what I mean? It's I feel like it's all types of ways to play with it. I'm also a big Robin Williams fan. He can make a scarf funny for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I aspire to get to change, and I've changed.
And let him go,
Yeah. So
I think that's what people need is, a night out is go out, have a little fun, laugh.
Yeah.
Just forget about it until you go back out to the parking. It's cool.
Yeah. Silliness.
Yeah, pretty much. You gotta just gotta laugh.
Well, I really appreciate what comics do. So good luck on the road.
Thank you. We'll see you in Kansas City, sir.
Thank you, Russ. All right, I'm gonna bring
Genevieve if we ever go on tour.
Thank you.
I'm gonna bring up Jeff next. He's got something to say. Spotlight there.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Hey, Jeff.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Bridget. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for asking.
Yes. I just had a question about the state of affairs today. And I guess I know Jimmy Dore had mentioned he had some theaters literally cancel on him because of his material. Besides the mothership, obviously that's a safe haven. Is there problems like that going rampant these days when you're trying to book?
When was Jimmy canceled? Recently?
God, we saw him at McGoobies, and he had mentioned something that somebody had given him a hard time at one of his venues. Yeah.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
don't know the details of that. That I don't hear as much of that as I did during like, the Great Awakening or whatever whatever we
Yeah.
want to call that decade. Um, but I don't know what I don't know enough about why he would have been canceled
Yeah.
for.
Well, I'll have to check. I wish I had more info. I just remember him mentioning it, but I didn't know if they, the venues give you, certain stipulations, any boundaries. Because I mean, in my opinion, comedy is like the First Amendment. You should be able to say whatever you like. If you don't have a sense of humor, don't go to the show.
Yeah, that seems to be the thing that got really interesting in the last decade or so is that people believed that their offense took priority over just people being able to say what they wanted to say and that they could just, not watch that show, not go to that show, turn it off. We always joke on Twitter, we're like, we encourage people to learn about how to use a remote and change the channel or just skip the video. You don't have to watch it.
Okay.
I don't, I feel like a lot of that is receded. There was a lot of, it's like I've said many times from 2015 when Maggie and I we had managers, we were gonna write, we were gonna make it big in Hollywood, and then
We had such dreams.
we had such dreams, and now and then I saw that I was making fun of some of there was so much low hanging fruit on the left, like. It wasn't like I only wanted to make fun of them. There was just a lot of low hanging fruit, and I felt like as a comedian, my job is to kind of poke fun at everything.
Yeah, they
And
kind of
I
make it easy.
and I said to Maggie, I was like, I can either say this or I can be quiet, and we can kind of just keep trying to sell our shows and get jobs as writers in a writer's room. And Maggie was like, well, you're not going to be able to shut up. And so things were, but that was a weird time because, like I've said, you don't know what doors closed or remain closed because people are like, "Oh, I don't feel safe because she said something on Twitter." That was so. I don't see as much of that at all. And I think here's the problem with cancel culture too. That as someone who's been living through it, talking about it, writing about it, so many people who got canceled or get canceled are often just self-destructive, mentally ill drug addicts and alcoholics who want to be like, "Oh, I'm canceled now," and you're like, "Well, you're also a fucking maniac,
They
and
need a
you
meeting.
kind of did this to yourself." And it's easy to now be like, "I'm being oppressed," but there was a time, like I think that there was this there was like an overcorrection. Obviously, people were getting banned left and right. And I'm very much like, let them say what they want to say. I want to know what these lunatics have to think. I'm not seeing it much in real life, though. If you're getting banned from somewhere, it's usually because you're an asshole, you're a predator, you did something. I'm not sure what the circumstances with Jimmy's that theater are, though.
Right. I'd like to say it was somewhere in L.A., so that may explain it.
Oh, but he's from LA, so that
No,
would be really
that
weird.
that was the weird. I hope he can get back into country when he does his tour overseas, because I know that's been another horror story I've been hearing.
That would be hilarious, though.
Yeah, it
Like
would.
objectively hilarious. I would march for him, but I
I'll
would
be
still
too.
be laughing.
Free Jimmy.
I would carry a sign that says "Free Jimmy," but I would also be dying laughing.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the time, Bridget.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
It's finally
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to finally say hi. I know I
Yeah.
chat and Twitter all the time, which in other spots, but keep up the great work, you and Maggie. It's my wife and I appreciate it.
Where are you located?
I'm in Pennsylvania, Jeff from
Oh,
PA.
perfect.
Oh,
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
So one of these days we're going to get out to Austin. Just don't know.
Okay. I want to go on tour, so maybe we'll
Okay.
come to you.
Yeah. People seem to skate by Philly, but we see Dave Smith and Robbie, what was that, Helium.
Oh yeah,
Philly.
Helium's great.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
a nice little room. So yeah, if
Yeah.
you're on tour, we'll be looking for you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Jimmy
Okay.
Dore. He's always up to no good, that Jimmy.
uh, I'm going to bring up Max now. Genevieve, if you have to go at any point, just let us know too. Because I know
Yeah,
you
this
have.
will probably be my last one. I'll probably go after this person.
Okay. Let's
Yeah.
bring up Max here. Hi, Max.
Hey,
Oh, Max is back.
yeah, I'm back.
Back from the bunker.
Yeah. Do you think comedy movies are going to like make a comeback?
Oh, that's a really great question. I don't know, like Tires is premiering tonight. Not that this
Oh,
is like a advertisement for Tires, but now it's become one. And I think things like that make me very hopeful. You know, it's not a movie, but I can see Shane writing and starring in a movie, and I think like Tim Dillon's been in some movies. And I think David Spade's making one with Theo Vaughn that looks. I mean,
oh,
I don't know
really?
if it's funny or not. Yeah, there's one in production. What do you think, Genevieve?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much am a diehard fan for pretty much anything that Will Ferrell has done. I mean, but then I also like stuff that seemed bad at first and then became pop, like, you know, cultural,
Yeah.
iconic stuff like Soul Plane. Like, come on now, like, like it's all it depends. Like, it's stuff that I'm happy that it was made, but I hope so because I plan to hope to keep going, and they'll have me just somewhere in the corner, doing vagina jokes or just going or whatever I can do, something be the
Yeah.
whatever character in the back. So I hope they still keep making them. I know Netflix is dibbling dabbling and with some stuff, letting some people create, making whether we'll look back on some stuff and be like, you know what, not that bad. It all depends. I hope so though. I hope
I
it
mean,
Yeah.
continues.
Max, are you like did you watch Lady Balls or whatever that was on Daily Wire? They tried to make a comedy
Oh,
movie.
no, that looks stupid. Some of that looked really dumb. No, I mean, I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan and I watch a lot of stand up, and that's funny, but I also like funny movies.
Like
Uh,
what's your idea of a funny movie?
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Dumb and Dumber, what else? Like Mr. Bean.
Mm-hmm.
Just goofy, silly
Yeah.
stuff. I think my favorite SNL actor was probably Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Just,
The
Tommy
just
boy.
Beverly
just
Hills
Tommy
Ninja.
boy.
yeah, just goofy people doing goofy things,
Yeah.
not taking themselves seriously, falling
Yeah,
on tables.
I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
that's that kind of like, water we're swimming in or at least coming out of is just this era of everyone taking themselves so
Yeah.
seriously and so like everything the vibe is so heavy. It's
Yeah.
just been like and understandably so. We were in a pandemic. We were that I'm not trying to like diminish that there's been a lot going on for the past decade and maybe forever, but there was stuff going on in the 90s, there was stuff going on in the
Yeah.
2000s, and it got I think people need that levity. Everything feels very, we are living in what feels like a little bit of a pre-dystopian, sci-fi film. Can we at
Yeah.
least make it kind of comedic?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Well, I
Well,
think that's why Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn have been so successful is because they don't take themselves so seriously.
yeah.
They're just like, whatever, I'm just gonna say this off the wall thing. Who cares?
Do you worry that the podcasting universe that you occupy kind of falls victim to the same thing that legacy media and legacy, entertainment fell victim to, which is that it becomes this kind of insulated bubble and then it implodes. Do you ever worry about that in the podcast world?
No, not really, because like a few weeks ago, I was listening to the debate with it was a Joe Rogan podcast with what's his name?
Douglas Murray and Dave Smith.
Yes, I listened to that, And
I was just
after
gonna sit
about
here and pretend I had no idea what he was talking about.
But about
walked right into
like
that
a half about like a
I'm
half
just
an
gonna
hour
pretend like I don't know what you're talking about. I'm completely out of these culture wars.
about a
And just
half an
real quick,
hour
I just sorry
into
about that.
it.
I just wanted to say just thank y'all for letting me have be on today. I'm gonna have to take off, but thank
Yeah.
you so much for
Thank you,
letting me be a part
Genevieve.
of this.
Genevieve,
Thank
I
you,
want to leave
Max.
right now too. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm
Genevieve, thank you.
sorry.
I will see you later tonight,
All
probably.
right, see y'all. Have
All
a
right,
good
bye,
night.
honey. Thank
Bye.
you.
No, I was gonna say I was
She's
about
like, and I'm out.
I was about like a half an hour into that debate, and I was like, okay, well, there's clearly a winner and a loser. I'm like, I don't really need to listen to this anymore. So I'm like, well, that's good enough. Because there's no like commercial breaks or there's no like interrupting and like, oh no, we have to like cut the show short. It's like they just let it go out for 3 hours,
Yeah.
and I already came to a conclusion that Murray lost. I'm like, oh well, and then just moved on.
Yeah,
Whereas,
I think
like
a lot of
TV is
people
like
had
very
different
TV's like very
perceptions of it.
mushed in and not enough breathing room,
Yeah.
We do have a bunch more people here.
Okay.
So let's bring some people up.
Max,
Thank you.
good to see you. You're regular. We love you.
Yep.
Thanks for tuning in from your bunker.
Yeah.
I love that we have regulars already.
I think too, the change in just Hollywood and how movies
Yeah.
are released, it had so much to do with the loss of the comedy. They don't release them that way anymore.
Yeah. What's a good comedy you've seen?
Lately?
Yeah.
I don't know. You would think Amazon and Netflix would start producing more of them,
You
right?
would think. One would think. Netflix, we have a comedy for you.
All right, I'm gonna bring up Benny next. Let's see.
Unmute. I hit it. All
Add
right.
spotlight.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
Bridget. Hi.
Hi.
I'm here from Cleveland, Ohio. I also spend quite a bit of time in Western New York, very Western New York, like as far west as you can get from Long Island would be Jamestown and Chautauqua Lake. So we're
Okay.
between Erie and Buffalo. And there on that beautiful lake is the National Comedy Center. And I don't know if you've heard of this, but it is a very significant museum, interactive museum for comedy, honoring all the comedians. Lewis Black was an original backer of this. Harlan family has donated all of their archives. I was just wondering if you were familiar with it, if you've had a chance to be there and your impressions.
I've heard of
And
it.
if
I've
not, I'd
never
like to
been.
encourage you to please come.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go. I have heard of this magical place. It's a little off the beaten track of literally
It is.
everything. Like, could
Yes,
they
it
have put
is.
it
Yes, it is.
in a more hard to access place?
I
They, like,
hear you.
drive through a bunch of deserted mine towns and the remnants of what was America, and then you'll get to this comedy.
This is true. Hey, and it's very red there, right?
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So
Appreciative of red humor, but maybe not it is an interesting location. And the reason for it, actually, for everyone else who doesn't know about it, is because Lucille Ball is from Celeron, right there, right on the lake, right next to Jamestown. And I feel like, just in the way Cleveland got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's deserving, and I encourage anyone who's going through that area to go. It's one of those interactive museums you could spend an entire day there. And the Lucy and Desi Museum is right across the street. The very beginning of August is when they have their huge comedy festival.
Cool.
I mean, I think Jeff Ross is headlining, or no, Jon Stewart. Yeah, it's big. So
yeah, the Lucille Ball is probably one of my earliest heroes in comedy. Just I was obsessed with her when I was a kid, obsessed. And actually, recently when I was at the Blaze doing Normal World, Glenn Beck, who is a massive collector of all things, had her
makeup station.
Yeah, her little, her, what
like
is it
her
called?
vanity,
her
Her vanity.
mirror.
Thank you. her vanity, her dress, and I got
And the
to
script
stand
of
in
the
front
original.
of her vanity. It was wild. Yeah, I love that stuff. I love interactive museums. One of the coolest interactive museum one of the coolest places I ever went was the Rolling Stone one that was going around the world, and it was interactive and it took you through all the Rolling Stones. It was amazing.
That I think they might have launched it in Cleveland at the Rock Hall. I used to go to all those
Okay.
openings, but so I saw the one for you mean the Rolling Stones band, right? Not the
Yes.
magazine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. I'll have to try
So they've
and
got
make it
this, they've
there.
got like, I did just check the website just to see what the figures were, but they have like, it said 50 interactive exhibits. And you guys,
Wow.
these are all like modern. They're kept up. Like there's a hologram of Jimmy.
Are you a volunteer at
Kimmel.
this place?
No, but I love it. I love it because the tourism is good for us up there. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's really cool.
Cool.
So
Well, thank you so much.
hit me up
for
if you're going to
listening.
head out that way.
I will hit you up. Please let us know how to get in
I'll
touch
be
with
around.
you.
All right.
I'll be
Okay.
around.
Thank
Okay.
you very much, Benny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benny.
All right.
Okay.
I've learned so much in this.
I know. All right, Alan, we're going to bring you up next. Add spotlight. Here we go.
Oh, Bridget.
Hello, Alan.
It's my second time on with you, so I'm very excited. Hopefully, I'm not as flush and nervous as I was last week. But I had two questions. Like, one of my favorite movies is History of the World, Mel Brooks, and they talk about the philosopher. I'm a stand-up philosopher, and like B. Arthur famously is like, "You're a bullshit artist."
Yeah.
But like, I look at like comedy today, especially over the past 10 years, being like modern day philosophy and, helping sculpt hearts and minds right now.
Hmm.
Sort of, like free speech. I mean, there's been a lot of very important fights and comedies fighting. So that's good. And then my other question I would have for you is, you were talking about movies. I think Max brought movies up. Like, there haven't been very many great comedy movies lately. Like, do you think we're ever going to see like another Tropic Thunder, Wedding Crashers, The Hangover?
No, just kidding. I mean, I hope so. I would hope so. Tropic Thunder is my favorite movie. Tropic Thunder and Team America. I traveled around the world with those DVDs. I've watched them thousands of times. A comedy movie that I wrote, Netflix. A comedy movie I wrote. I was like inspired by just watching Tropic Thunder so many times. It's such a brilliant film. And I don't know. It seems like obviously even just from this very small anecdotal sliver of humanity that we've talked to tonight, there's a real hunger for these movies still. I bet exponentially you could say that this is something that the market is asking for. So hopefully, like, Hollywood is just so fucked right now. It's crazy. There was an article that came out today and it was like Hollywood has left Los Angeles, and it truly has. I'm hoping that they can pick up some of the slack in Texas. They're building studios here. A lot of the industry is moving here. People are independently producing more and more. What was your first question?
Like comedy being the modern day philosophy, like are they gonna
Yeah.
look back 200 years and be like quoting Bridget Phetasy and
God,
like,
I hope not.
women?
Just people being like, women. People yell that to me when I get on stage. It's amazing. I think comedy has always kind of served as that function. That is what the Jester was. This is an ancient kind of. I see my role. This is the quote that I wanted to get that I completely forgot to get for this episode, which is our role is like trickster. There's this great book, Trickster Makes This World by Lewis Hyde, that I reference all the time and I'm obsessed with. And it's all about the trickster myth in the world and how important it's been. And the quote is like, trickster is he who dupes others, but who also dupes himself. He who possesses no morals, but through his actions, all morals come into being. It's just like the gray-haired baby, these very weird paradoxes. And what I do worry about with the modern comedian taking on this kind of outsized influence in the culture is that they forget what their role is. Like Jon Stewart kind of pioneered the clown nose on, clown nose off, which he used to do all the time on Crossfire, where it's like, clown nose off, I'm serious, I'm a political commentator. Clown nose on, I'm just a comedian. I don't know what I'm talking about. I do this. I try to call myself on it when I do it. But I do think it and in the world that we live in that is beyond parody, it makes sense that all of these people would become massively huge commentators. But I'm like, I'm pretty clear about knowing my lane and not knowing like foreign policy, for example. I'm not, but I think now that there's a lot of the like clown nose on, clown nose off happening because everything's been mashed together, and these like people are demand that you have a take on everything. You're supposed to have some take on everything, and I'm like, comedians, I don't like it when they're like, we're these philosophers and like through us the truth is revealed, and some of that is true, but also we're kind of self-centered pieces of shit who only care about making people laugh. Like truly centerless individuals sometimes are attracted to this. It's not people who just want to heal the world and make people laugh. It's people who want to be rich and famous. And so I think people can look to these like, I don't think people should put so much on the comedians, and I feel like in time they'll be left adrift if they're looking to them for their foreign policy, for example. I don't know that this like holds up, but on the other hand, like I'll see Tim Dillon perform and I'm like, he is representative of the collective nervous breakdown that this country is having right now in the human form. Like his comedy is just a stream of conscious psychic breakdown. So I do think we play that role. I don't think we can take that role seriously, if that makes any sense.
It makes 100% sense. I love hearing your perspective, and thank you for having me on again. And I look forward to next Wednesday with you.
Awesome. Thanks for coming, Alan. Good to see
You're
you
welcome.
again.
Thanks, Alan. All right. I think we have time for one more.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have to go in a few minutes. We have to go out on time today, guys.
I've got a heart out.
Bridget has a heart out. So I'm going to bring up Curtis. Been waiting very patiently.
Hey there. Yeah. So I wonder, what is it that comedy really is? You think of, you've got people like Chappelle that like every special will move the political needle, come up with some comment, and actually are sort of important in the culture. And that's comedy. And then you have a Seinfeld who's making things funny that are nothing, or Jim Gaffigan that's doing 15 minutes of stuff about horses just to prove he can make people laugh for 15 minutes about anything. Or you've got Sam Kinison that's just, you're just watching, it's like, look at this train wreck of a life. For some reason, this person is insane and that's funny. So they're just sort of like, if you think of a comedy club, it's like if every style of music had to play the same room, the same band.
Yeah.
And, so I think there's a part of comedy that is important in kind of pushing or finding the lines where you're throwing a joke out there to see, are other people thinking what I'm thinking? Like,
yeah.
It's in everyone's mind. Oh, I guess not. Or, oh yeah, it really.
Yeah, I run into that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I guess nobody else is aware of this, or maybe it's not real.
Or maybe I'm too online. Like that's another thing that I run into all the time is there are things that my online audience will get in a second, and then I'll take it to the stage and it's like crickets because no one knows what I'm talking about. So there's a big divide between the people who live online and live and breathe all this stuff. And I think that there's room for all comedy. Like we need all of it. We need the Dave Chappelles, and I actually agree with like Louis C.K. where he recently was supporting Adrienne Appalucci with his newsletter, my friend, and she's also the Dark Queen and a genius. And he was kind of saying like it was an indictment on most of us comedians as well for being kind of political. And Louis is a genius, and then you have like people, I think we're in like a weird overcorrection phase where you couldn't say anything, and then now people think that because the subversive rose to the top, that just saying something, shocking is enough. And it's like, I don't care if it's subversive, I just care if it's funny. Doesn't like just saying like the F word isn't necessarily enough for it to be funny. It has to be funny. And I think
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
there's a lot, I was thinking like there's a lot, you really just need to be funny to succeed in comedy. But also, fame can get you a certain amount of the way too, because once you get famous, there's people will kind of give you a lot of goodwill, and you have a lot of fans who are going to support you. So it's easy to like lose perspective on, whether you're actually funny or if you're just actually very famous. There's in Hacks, she has this great moment in that show, which is, on and off. She has a great moment where she gets wildly famous, and then she gets on stage and she's just talking and people are laughing, and she's getting mad because she's like, I haven't said anything funny, but they're just laughing because she's a huge star. And so I think it's like all different levels and all different, you see these young kids come out and like they're just so personable, and that they've got that star quality just out of the gates. And then you see someone who's been grinding forever. What's the name of that woman? I think it's Leanne. She's like in her 50s and she just blew up. She became massively huge. And I don't know, that my general feeling in the arts, because I think there's this scarcity mindset in the arts, and particularly amongst artists. You're all kind of, my friend Henny used to always say, it's a lot of mice fighting for one piece of cheese. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think there is room for us all, and I think we need it all. I think humor is so subjective. What someone finds funny is not what someone else will find funny.
And it's funny, we talked about the kind of the vacuum left by Hollywood. Hollywood seems incapable. Like if you think of the Marvel movies, it's like they have to go back 30 years to find some universe created by a country that doesn't exist anymore in order to find something that relates to normal Americans, and they just can't get away from it, but they couldn't make it themselves.
Right.
And so I think with comedy, it sort of leaves an opportunity for the stand-up, because people are, for whatever reason, like comedy is, people need to see it, and they feel that vacuum, and I think that's an opportunity for the stand-up. But comedy is the strangest human need. It just is very, and some people have it more than others. Of course, you have this need to make jokes about every day. I do too. My teachers sent home notes that said, Curtis has a knack for making people laugh. I wish he wouldn't do it in class, But it's a human, for whatever reason, we like to laugh, and we, who knows, why do we laugh at Adrian Appalucci's joke about school shooters?
Yeah, because we need to.
Why though? It's weird.
Because we need to, because it's a release, because it's something super dark. Like, I think comedy out of tragedy. I used to make rape jokes and people would come at me online, and I'm like, you don't get to police. I've been raped. You don't get to police how I process this. You don't get to gatekeep that. I think we need those, people need those releases, and it's not going to look the same for everyone. And that was the weirdest part about just the time that we lived through, is watching people kind of censor the laugh, just shove down the laugh. It's so weird, because it's so much of a like automatic response almost, that to see people having to like shut that down because they were afraid that they'd be judged for laughing at a joke that was not politically correct. That was a moment when I was like, wow, this is self-censoring on like a completely physical level. That is, I'm happy to see that the comedians kind of held the line in this time, and not only held it, but kind of burst, storm the gates. So yeah. I think that's probably a good place for us to end this podcast on.
It is.
This is awesome.
Very good. Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you, Curtis. Good to see you.
Bye, fam.
So,
okay, let's do our wrap out here.
This goes so fast.
I know, it really does.
I mean, just too fast, guys.
Thank you to everyone who participated, showed up. I'm sorry if we didn't get to you, but we love having you guys raise your hands.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I wish I could tell you what next week's will be about, but I always change my mind last minute. Thank you to our guest Genevieve. Thank you to those of you who showed up and asked questions or just watched and observed and participated in the chat. Thank you to Two Way and their amazing team. We can't do this without them. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Bridget.
And thank you, Quest, for sponsoring this show. Visit questhealth.com and use the discount code REALMAY25, even though it's not May anymore, and get 20% off your purchases. That's questhealth.com. Code REALMAY25 for 20% off. Join us next Wednesday, June 4th.
Oh, wait, no, sorry. Wrong date.
Just kidding.
June 10th, I think it is.
Yeah, damn you, Maggie. It's what day is it today? I don't even.
June 11th.
Yeah, I think it's the 7th. Join us next Wednesday, June 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're with us on the Zoom, it's the same link every time. Put it in your calendar. Save this link. We love having you come to our diner. We love the regulars. We use this for every show. Thank you for getting real with me, guys. I'm Bridget Phetasy. Don't forget to tip your waitress or server.